Hello, welcome to the stream. Happy Sunday. At least I hope it is for everybody. When people join, I will give an intro to what we're doing today. As you join, and I'll repeat this because say it when we've got more people here too. But you may see in the upper right corner of the screen a URL. This week in my hometown of Kansas City, there was a really unfortunate event where at the celebration parade for the Kansas City Chiefs win of the Super Bowl, some people were shot at the end of the event. And many of them were children. But because of the unfortunate way that healthcare and other things work in the United States, often people need assistance in these situations. And so I encourage you, if you have heard about this tragedy before and you feel like you want to do something, which I encourage you to do, please visit the link in the top right. That's give.unitedway.gkc.org/p/kcstrong. All of the proceeds there will go to helping victims of the shooting that happened on Wednesday. So I encourage you to go to that. If you don't feel comfortable giving to the United Way, I understand that people would sometimes rather give directly to things. I encourage you to go to Children's Mercy Hospital and look at their how to give page. They treated, I believe it was 9 or 10 of the victims who were children, and they are a not-for-profit hospital, so they rely on donations and grants for sustaining their operations. So I feel really bad that this is how I have to start my stream, but it's just something that I felt needed to be said, and I feel like it was incredibly unfortunate for what should have been a very happy time for people who are from Kansas City, and especially for children who want to come see their sports heroes and idols celebrate. So please do visit the link in the top right if you have some to give. I highly encourage you to do that. Okay. Welcome to the stream. I see we only have one person so far, but that's okay. We had a pretty good stream last time, and it is warm today, so I'm going to turn on the fan 1 second. I'm going to crack the window too. Okay. That's better. Hi, Chris. Love the dinosaur dance every time you join. Okay, so last time we went through the Bevy ECS LDTK tutorial, which I think was really helpful, especially for me learning some things about LDTK and how to author levels. So I wanted to kind of start there because I think our first attempt at it was wrong, and the tutorial showed a better way. And then what we can do is we can load up our level design, including where the player starts. That'll be nice. And then we can see if we can still move around in it. So let's get started. Welcome to the chat. Okay. So I've already done some of this off stream. Oh, in 1 second, this looks like that text is not going to work. Not enough contrast there. Yeah, it's fine. I'll leave it. I'll leave it. Sorry if you can't read it or if it's getting in the way. Yeah, it's a bit much. Give me 1 second. See if I can do maybe add a drop shadow and see if that helps. Yeah, okay. We're gonna leave it. Yeah, I did some more off stream to try to bring our level design back in line with what they did in the tutorial. So taking a quick look here, you zoom in, you see basically we have the same sort of format that we had before, where we had the block walls, and then when it reaches the corner, it adds this like slight vertical section, and then we've got the thin vertical sections down this side, and if we zoom in here at the bottom, we've got that kind of ridged top of the bottom facing wall. And what I did was I created, I left the walls stuff as it is, because I think that we had just the stuff around the edges in our previous version. So I don't think that I changed the grid at all, but notice this is an integer grid like we did last time in the tutorial. So I made some rules, and the rules are pretty similar to what we had in the tutorial, which was if you have, so if we look at this, if you have a corner, so this is the bottom inside corner, then it'll do this tile. And that's mirrored on the X. So if we go over, see if we can zoom in. I don't really know the panning controls that well, but you can see it flipped the tile around horizontally. Okay, and then there's, if it's that top left corner or the top right corner, you see I hovered that and those turn kind of purple. Hopefully you can see that. Then those will be like where the horizontal wall that you're below intersects with the vertical wall. And we did something similar for the left and right walls. You notice they don't go down to the corners because we have the special corner pieces, and the bottom wall, and then the the top contiguous wall. And then I also added, so rather than having a different background layer, I added this rule for it, if there's nothing there. So example, if there's nothing there, then you put the dirt. So I think that covers our int grid rules. And then I went ahead and made a player entity, and for whatever reason, I think I have like lowercase on these, or snake case or something, but it's a lowercase entity identifier, and then I just put him in the middle. I thought about adding enemies, but I think that maybe what we can do is do that later if it's appropriate. We already have a system set up to randomly spawn them on an interval, so I think we'll just keep with that. So let's save that, and let's go back over to our project. So I commented this out so I could do a quick screenshot earlier this week. But let's go ahead and add this back. And I think that what we need to do, like what we did in the tutorial, is to add some bundles for the walls, and for the player. And then we'll be kind of up to speed with where the tutorial was. Maybe we can do some other editing in there to get the level to look more interesting, and we'll see about that. So, okay, so this is kind of there's some overlap here with our map. What I would love to do is we had this thing outer walls, right? Um, I don't know what that comment is doing there. It doesn't mean anything. Where we were generating those and we were using a particular sprite, but we don't have to do that anymore. So, hi, Isaac. Welcome to the stream. And we won't need this, this map resource. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy. Let's see where this grid to world is being used. I think I used it, with colliders. I use it in any other files. Yes, I did, in the camera. Let's go and see what we're doing there in the camera plugin. Okay, so this is following the player. So we'll need to update this as well, where we're going to use the level dimensions rather than a static resource of the dimensions. So okay, so I'm going to take this wall bundle, and we're going to go over here in levels, and let's copy it over here. And I think what we're going to need to do is remove these things, because we're going to derive an int cell. We need to think about the collider and whether we can apply any properties in the editor. Because right now, if I just if this uses the default, I believe it's just a 0 size, right? And we don't want our walls to be 0 size. Okay. So we should maybe potentially do a from world implementation on this, or we can fix it up as we're loading. Anyway, I think we need to do this, which is a sprite sheet. So this is what they recommended in the tutorial. What is the, let's look at the docs for that because I've forgotten. Okay, so there's the LDTK int cell. Let's look back at the book. Yeah, let's pop this open. No, here we go. So we need to derive default and bundle on this, I think. That might be the problem. Those are entities, though. What was the bundle for? Right, so that's for entities. We need grid chords. So wall bundle, wall, okay. There was something where Okay, I'm not seeing it right now. Um, we'll need to do this. I think that the the tiles will probably be different. So we don't need the sprite sheet bundle in here. And we'll need to register this. Okay. And we need to copy the wall over, because I'm just gonna hopefully get rid of that map file eventually. And then the collider comes from collision, so we can import that. Okay. Okay, so let's start with that. I really would rather derive from world or implement from world. I think because we want to be able to right, so we probably want to not from world. There's a different trait in Bevy. From world is like given the world setup, you can spawn that thing. But I think there's one where it like actually. Oh right, you're supposed to return self on from world, so I don't think that's the one I want. Let's look at their docs about. Here, I'm going to pull this up here about loading things. So right, so we registered. This is about the entities. We'll come back to that. We have a blueprint pattern. Okay, so there's a process player system that happens after. Right. Okay, so I think what we should do is potentially either add the collider to this entity after it's added, and get the grid coordinates. I think that we can do. And we have to put this in here if that's available in int cell. For whatever reason, it's not. Which is interesting. Because it looked like it was going to be. Oh, from. The thing is, I don't like those attributes are there, but they don't say what they're for. Okay. That's not very helpful. Okay. Right, that's all about entities. I'm going to bump down the text size a little bit. It's staring me in the face. Okay, so derived, but right, or added int grid cell or filtering. Okay. Um, let's look at this article one more time. No, we don't care about worldly entities. Those are like if we had the player moving from level to level without despawning. That's what that's about. Um, okay, int grid layers with auto tile. Some metadata is defined on assets or on tile sets. Oh, okay. So maybe what we could do, because I'm thinking about the, remember, I'm thinking about the collision. So if we look at the tile sets, um, we could potentially leave a level when you come back. You have to fight yourself. Yeah, that would be fun. Like the old fighter games where you'd have same versus same, and like one character would be slightly differently colored than the others, than the other one. Um, so like maybe no, I don't want to clear custom data for that. Can we? Maybe it's an enum. So we had entity kind. I kind of want to make some data here. Um, and this is, yeah, this is not really helping. So I'm not sure that that's going to tell us what we want or do what we want here. I suppose I could make another enum, but like these are text, right? There's nothing interesting there. Um, maybe what we could do is let's make a wall direction, maybe. Um, and then we could label. So we could say this is left and right and top and bottom. And then we can label the tiles with this. So let's go back over here. Okay, fine. You know, that's actually not helping us. The other enum right now. Um, so, okay, so we could say, if I recall here, where's the move the view space? Okay. That's not working in this. Okay, so we know that we probably need corners as well, but I'm not sure how that's going to work with our flipped rules. So we might need to duplicate the corner rules and flip them manually because we do want different uh, collision boxes for the corners, I think. But let's go ahead and label the left. So this is going to be left, and this one is going to be right, and this one is top, and currently this one is bottom. So we have at least those covered. and then maybe we don't worry about the corners for now. Okay. So then let's see about. So there's enum tags. Use to define enum tags based on a particular tile. Automatically inserted on any tiles with enum tags. Okay. I wonder if actually we could apply any tags in the rules here. No. Yeah. Okay, well, let's duplicate this rule, and we're going to turn off Marion for this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to select this wall, and that will make it so that that tile should get labeled with the right enum, and then yeah, we don't care about that right now. Yeah, I think this is good enough for now. Let's save that. Okay, so it's not letting us get the grid chords. But we could maybe do the enum tags. Automatically inserted on any tiles with enum tags. Okay, so we don't necessarily have to set that, because there should be a wall there already, and maybe we don't set the collider. We do some post processing. So let's do a system. Okay. Update. Add wall colliders. Okay, and then we're going to need a commands. And then we're going to need a query, which was is entity, and we want the tile enum tags, and it's added wall, right? So if we added the wall in this step, this is like their example they give of excuse me, sorry for the insane flipping, where they're doing post processing. So we're querying over the things that were just added. So if it added a wall, we want to get what that entity is, and we want to add our collider component to it. Okay. Let's say wall tags in, let's say, entity in query header. So what we will do is we'll say entity commands, and we'll get that. And then I want to do for tag in tags dot. Is that a? Let's look at their docs there, because I think this is going to tell us. Yeah, it's just vec of string. I'm going to rename this. That's a bit much. Enum tags. Okay. Okay, so I think this is where we need to know what these tags are. So let's look at the enums here. So left, right, top, bottom, right? So we can do match tag, left, do something, right, do something else, top, do something else, bottom. And if it's anything else, we don't care about what that does. So looking at what we had in map, right? So if we were doing the top wall, we would do this. The problem is grid to world. I think we're going to have to use get grid chords here. And convert that to world coordinates in here. So and it was in the utils, I think. Right. Grid chords to translation, I think, is in the center of the tile. Yeah. So we'll use Bevy, ECS, LDTK, utils, grid chords to translation. Okay. And our tile size is, I think we had that defined somewhere. We were previously doing it there. Okay, so we know the tile size is 16. Let's just put it in here as a constant. And this takes an IVEC2. So let's make this I32. I think that might be const. So we could do tile dimensions, IVEC2, tile size. Yep, that's const. Okay, we'll say tile dimensions. Okay, and that's going to do, that returns us a vec2, which is what we want. But do we need... Actually, I take that back. We don't need that because it's already been positioned. I don't know why I was under the impression that we needed that, the grid coordinates for this wall. Here, as ref, please. Okay. So if it's a left one, or let's go with what we had in the other file. And I'm going to split this on the right, and we can code on the left. Okay, so for the top wall. Oh, right. Okay. So the collider, that was what we were doing here. We were going with the top wall. We wanted it to make it one entity rather than a bunch of tiny entities. And that had to do with how we were colliding with the wall. So I think right. So this is basically the width of that. That's not going to work with our new setup, unfortunately. So I think that what we want here is any commands, insert collider with size and offset. So the size is going to be vec to splats. Tile size as F32. And sorry, we're kind of going off the screen here. Let's get some line breaks going in. Okay, and the offset is going to be that vec to new 0, 4. Okay. All right, so we just need to put a semicolon there. And I wish the formatter hadn't got rid of my curly braces. Okay. So we're doing basically what we did here. No, we're like we did before. We're lifting the collision up by 4. So we should maybe potentially decrease the top by 4 because it's not like it's exceeding. So maybe let's do this. And that way we're not getting it to be too tall. Okay, so there's top. And note that what we were doing previously was we were defining the wall and then defining each of the tiles individually as children of that wall. But we don't have to do the positioning when LDTK has done it for us. So so let's go and look at the bottom wall. It's going to be pretty similar, I'm guessing. Yeah, and note here that we made it shorter, right? Okay. So let's copy pasta this. So this is going to be, yeah, tile size in 12, and this is going to be -4. And then for the left wall, right, so we'll do tile size for the Y. And 6 for the width. And this is going to be -2 and 0. And I think it's going to be the same on the right, but flipped. One thing that might be nice, I don't know how hard it's going to be, but might be to draw the collision boxes. I think that might be nice. So maybe we'll dig into the render side at some point, or maybe we can have the collider. Well, let's think about that. Right, so we did left and right. It's the same, but it's +2 instead of -2. Okay. So I think that pretty much will, with the exception of fixing our camera, we'll remove, because it uses this function, it'll remove the need for this whole file. It's pretty nice. Okay. So, I think I want to, this is going to be silly, but I want to see that this is actually working. um, and maybe what we'll do here is we'll go like L R T print line debugging. Isn't it great? Okay, I'm gonna close that split. All right, well, let's make sure that this is okay. So that's in there. It's on. It's part of the plugin. We add wall colliders. So that was the main thing that we needed to do. And let's see if I'm missing anything in particular from their example over here. It's not clear why they needed the asset server here. In this system, it's not being used. That's interesting. Okay. And then let's see. Let's see if when we load that, if it will, yeah, we're not using that. Okay. Let's remove that for now. And yeah, we're not using that. Okay, our printout. So it did generate the walls. So it's finding those tags. That's good. Note that our player is still not, not inside the world, and the world starts at like at 0, 0 here. I think we might need to adjust our level design so that the coordinates are different. Our camera is following the player, but we're not spawning the player from the level. Okay. So at the very least, we know we're getting those colliders in there. We can remove those info statements. I can't inline that. Okay. So what I would love to do is see, because you noted that when we ran that, the player was not colliding with these walls. And furthermore, it's at a different level. Let's see if we can't fix the camera. Sorry, we don't need this. I need this. So the camera was using this grid to world to determine what the maximum extents of the map were. And what we want to do is we want to get that the from the level design. So I think what we can do is we're going to replace this with, so we're not going to need the res map, but we might need the project. So no, we don't. LDTK world bundle. All right, so this is the handle for LDTK project. So this is going to be a resource, or we'll just query for it. I think we'll just query for it. Okay, so we did, there was the level selection. We should be looking in here. Right, so the level selection, indices, and we used 0. What I want to be able to do, oh, well, so there's the C height and C wide. So if there's a layer metadata, or maybe, no. Okay, so we might be able to query for this. The level ID. I guess that's I. But I want to say that it's the project that we care about, right? Um, the project data. I don't know if so there's level map and then there's the metadata about the level. This doesn't implement deref, but I wonder if it passes through anything. I don't know what the difference between internal and external levels is. Yeah, and this is not helpful. This is just the deserialized version of the project data. Okay, method attaining a loaded level. So we want to look for this loaded level. Potentially. Okay, so there's this pix height and pix width. Wrapper around a borrowed level that guarantees the level is complete data. So layer via the asset types. Okay. Oh, it's whether that's stored in a separate file or not, or if it's in the same file. Okay, that's what the internal versus external is. Um, okay. So there's iter loaded levels. Okay. All right. Let's see, because I'm jumping around here a lot, and I think I might be getting a little bit dizzy. um, so I think what we want is we want to get a handle to the LDTK project. Let's briefly look back at that anatomy of the world. Right, so there's a world entity that has this world bundle. Okay, so let's start there. Um, right. Okay. Um, what we want is we want the world. What do you call it? LDTK. So this is, we need the it needs a handle LDTK project. LDTK project. And then from there, yeah, let's look at the thank you, Chris. That's a good point. He says there's an example of getting the level coordinates for camera usage in the platformer example. So maybe let's look at that real quick. In there, yeah, and it's not in here because they don't talk about it in the book. So we will look at the repository. Look at the examples in the repo. So the platformer. Okay. Movement. That's not it. Spawn wall collision. Okay, so we might want to look at this system later because they're looking at where were these walls added. That's something we might want to consider checking on. Ignore gravity of plane, patrol. Camera fit inside current level. Okay, so they get the level selection. We're going to need that. Okay, and there's this assets LDTK project, right? So we don't want to handle. We want this is the project. It's going to be resource of assets LDTK project. Okay, and then we want the level selection. This is interesting that they have both a handle and the assets, which point to the same thing. I wonder why you would need this except to get a handle to it. All right, let's read what they do here. Okay, so looking at the player translation, and then they're looking at the projection and the camera transform, right? So that was this query, the camera query. And the level query Right. So they're excluding the orthographics. So this is so that the queries don't overlap with one another. We did that in one of our other systems as well, or maybe it was in our own camera system. Okay. So then looping through the level. Okay. So they use the handle here to get the object out of the assets. That's why you need both. That's what this, you know, give me this handle and then get it out of the assets and it should be loaded. Okay. And then they're taking the level ID. I don't know why there's two I's in those, but they're taking the level ID and getting the raw level. If it's the default, I don't know why that's there. Okay, so then they take the level, and then this is the aspect ratio, and they take the pixel width and height. And then so this is like scaling the camera, and I don't think we need to scale the camera. We just need to translate it. Okay, so they're trying to make the aspect ratio fit so that the level fits in the screen. But yeah, okay, so basically, and then they transform this. So really what we need here is just the how to get the current level, right? Um, we can probably get around this for now because we have only one level. um, but what I was going to say is, yeah, let's get these other things in here. Okay, so we need. Let's get Prelude in here. Okay, so we need the project assets, and we need the project, and this is query for handle of LDTK. Hello, LDTK project. Okay, so and we need I think rather than looping over the levels, what we want to do is get the level selection and oh, okay. Okay, so I see. I think I see. Level selection is match. Let's look at that in their docs real quick. I want to understand this better. Selection. So level selection is match. Returns true if the given level matches this level selection. I don't understand that default thing. Like why? Hmm. Okay. Level indices. That just seems like a really strange construction. That their passing is matched. So we have the level selection. And it's just passing a default version of level indices. Which I'm assuming we can maybe look at it. Level indices, it implements default. Let's see what it puts. It just derives it. So this is going to be none, and this is going to be 0. Okay. Levels don't inherently store their index. It needs to be provided separately. Okay, so we need to get the level indices out of the project, I'm guessing. Which means it's either a resource or it's on this world. There's level set. There's has set of IADs. Okay. Okay. So the level. Okay. Again, I'm getting a little dizzy with the indirection here. So there's an LDTK world bundle. The level entities with a level IID component. Okay, so what we want to look at is this entity, and then entity and tile and int grid layers are children of this level entity. That's what it looks like. Okay. So let's look again at their example, because I think I'm almost on the verge of getting it. Okay, so we get the level, transform, and level IID. Okay, so this needs to be named something different. Selection. Levels. We'll do something similar to what we did on the camera query. Yeah, I'm just going to straight up copy this. I think that's valuable right now. Okay. It'd be nice if we had a utility function which gave us the current level as opposed to all this goop. Yeah, it's still this, like, this is the set of indices, and it's a default, which means it's 0. I want to say the level selection. Oh, well, the level selection contains level indices, so we don't pass default. We get that. But that's weird that this is a level selection. and then you have to pass the indices. But if it, because level selection is an enum, right? And it's either identifier indices, which is this, or level IID, or UID. Chris says, for what it worth, I also find this specifically the weirdest part of the crate, but it seems like it's supporting more complex use cases than I usually use. Yeah, and I'm guessing it has to do with the having different worlds and stuff like that. So I suppose if we were like, early on in this series, I showed off Crafty Survivors, which is still a great game, and they have different worlds. So um, and those worlds have each have their own levels, set of levels in them with different trees of how to get through the different levels. So like maybe that would be a case where we wanted to make use of this, but um, and this is where it's weird. Levels don't inherently store their index. Okay. Um, but oh, that's frustrating. Because it's not saying, it's not like there's this level indices component or resource that we can pull out. It's part of the selection. It's just so confusing. Yeah, I mean, let's look at their level selection. Okay, so it has a level set. So we could get... when the set of levels... okay. I'm guessing if it's indices, that's going to be an index into this level set component. Again, this is a thing where I think they could they could do a little better. Okay, so let's go with their example, and assume that this makes sense. It doesn't to me right now. But let's start with that. Okay. Okay, and here we'll make sure that our variables are named consistently, even though I don't care for it. LDTK. Okay, so I think what happens is we put all this logic inside here, and we're going to have some nesting issues. Nope. Okay. So let's rename that. Levels needs to be renamed level query. Okay, and then we're gonna not do this. So what we need is the bottom left. We need to get So the level, here's where we could use the potentially, let's look for level. The world. No. There's a pix height and pix width. But one of the weird things was that it was positioning the bottom left of our world as like at the 0, 0 point of our coordinate system, and that's not exactly what I want. I think that we can probably adjust that in here. Like this is the width and height, right? But world coordinates. Nope. Of course, this could be a thing where, like, LDTK is using a different coordinate system. We could say -800, -600. Okay, and then, oh, why does it not work the way I want it to? Yeah, let's save that. Because I think that we might. Might be having some issues there. Okay, so bottom left is going to be level. This is going to be vec2, right? Level dot pix height. Wrong way. Pix y. Why didn't they? I guess this must be a part of the JSON format or something, but they didn't bother renaming it. Okay, so we're going to divide it by 2, and then we're going to do the negative, right? And then, so we want the half extent, right? And then the bottom top right is going to be the opposite of bottom left. We can actually flip these. And then do the negative once rather than twice. Okay. That's an I32. So we're do it as F32 on both of those. The other thing we could do is say this is an IVEC2 as VEC2. Okay. And let's see here. So what's wrong there? So this is a VEC3. Doing some funky stuff here. Extend 0. Okay, so level transform. Yeah, I think what we need to do is add the level transform to these. translation, because that'll put us in the levels coordinate space. Oof. I always get these. We had this with work stuff too. I always get these like transform maths wrong all the time. I'm thinking I'm doing it right, and then finding out it does exactly the opposite of what I wanted to do. So I guess we'll find out. But the main thing here, I think, is that where is the level transformed to? We want the camera to be inside that. So the very least, we need to move the camera. Right. We need to move the camera within the coordinate space of the level. So we add its translation to that. Okay. Right. So in this case, we're moving the player around, and the player is confined to, we hope, within our level. We haven't fixed that yet. And then we're taking that player transform. So we did this in a previous episode, right, where we made the camera follow the player. So we're saying the player is always centered, unless the player is too close to an edge, in which case we don't like pan over the edge. We only stop at where we've reached the edge of the level. Okay. Whew. Everybody following me still? Okay. So that means that if this is the last case, I want to make sure that we don't have any other references to map. Right. So here, we're no longer using these, so we can remove those imports. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to refresh this. And then I think we can delete the map file. And close it. Don't save. I should have done that first. Let's build. Yeah, okay, so we need to deal with movement. So this is going to be levels wall. Let's see, there's no map module anymore. And we can remove the map plugin. And I think that covers everything. Isn't it nice we can refactor that and, Okay. So, hey, look at that. We're actually running into that wall now. The camera's still following, but we are not getting our level position correctly. Okay, so I think I want to go back to the player. We won't need to... Hello, Bianca. Sorry, my cat is trying to push the microphone around. We won't need to spawn the player specifically anymore. So I think we can remove this. We'll be using, but we will need to maybe what we can do is, as opposed to this, specifically spawning them, we'll use that like added thing like we did before. So we don't need sprites. We are going to need to, over here, excuse me, we're going to need to register, and honestly maybe we'll do that in the player. Yeah, we'll just pull in this prelude in the player. Not really concerned about that so much right now. Okay, so does movement bundle implement default? It does. Okay, what I'm looking at is we should make a player bundle. Um, Bundle debug LDTK entity. Um, and I'm gonna bring this down a little bit. So I think that we want to get as much into this as we can. And let's look at their examples again, because I think that was helpful last time. Right, so we need a sprite sheet bundle in there. Okay, and this needs to implement default as well. And then we'll say, that doesn't need to be pub. Player is player. And then we need to do this, right? So up here, and I think it was lowercase in ours. So fine, we don't need debug. So player needs to implement default. Obviously that's trivial. Default. And we probably want to put these other things in there as well. The other thing we could do is say implement default manually for player bundle. I actually like that idea. Then we'll get control over it. Okay, so player is player. Sprite sheet bundle is, we're just going to default. And then we need to get, so we won't need these. We need to get a health in there. So I say health is going to be health. Collider is going to be collider. We're going to say weapon. And then movement is going to be a movement bundle. Okay. Okay, so we can copy the health here. Collider. Weapon. See, so we're kind of, and the movement just needs to be default. And then we don't need this spawn player because it's got everything. It's got the sprite sheet based on the this macro, right? So we can remove spawn player. Now, if we needed to add anything else that couldn't be added in a default implementation, we would want to do that. I think there's an interesting question in my mind about why did we not do something here? And I think, yeah, I think the issue is that when in this implementation of default, we don't have access to, you know, these tags. So I think that's fine to leave like that. For this one, we have, you know, the player always has these things when they start, unless we wanted to, you know, change something about different kinds of players have different attributes or something. But we might want to do something like this as well for make a dagger bundle. Yep. Okay. But that's kind of nice. That cleans that up a little bit, and then we don't have to specifically spawn the player. Let's see what happens. I'm not certain that we're actually going to get what we want here, but yeah, okay. Let's see. We unwrapped. It's looking for a player weapon. So we need to get rid of an unwrap somewhere. What system did it say that was in? Line 98 of player. Yeah, so I think we can say if let get single mute. We can say let some. Yeah. Else. Oops. We say else return. So obviously, if there's no player, and that's not some, it's okay. Right. So if there's no player yet, we don't want to run the system. We just want to return right away. I imagine that there's other things like that in our code too. Okay, similar movement velocity with player. So there is some delay here. I'm guessing that it's loading, and maybe what we want is to move. Oh, but that's load levels is in startup, so that should happen before. But there is a potential delay here with this asset server load. That's just a handle. It's not a guarantee that it's already loaded. Let's see. Okay. Player 88. Let's just fix that immediate problem. Let's say let okay mute velocity get single mute else return. And then that will no longer panic. Okay, now we have a different one that panics. Okay, the player transform, and this is in the ghost. Right, so if we're spawning a ghost. Yes, I'm aware, Bianca. I don't know if everybody could hear that meow, but what line was that crashing on? 79. Right, okay. So we'll do another one. Get single else return. Okay, so now we have a problem in that, and I was reading about this earlier, but the layering, um, our player transform should be on top, but our ghosts are definitely not going to spawn at the front. So I think that we want something like that. Um, that's just a guess. Let's say 100. I don't know that we'll have that many layers, but the z coordinate on, let's see, I'm sorry, we want to multiply that by 1, and this should be, it needs to be on top. And then the player, okay, so in the movement there's a thing about velocity. We probably extend somewhere in here. Well, but we're not changing the z component of velocity ever. So this is just changing. Yeah. Interesting that the player did not spawn. So like, note the entities are above the walls level, or the walls layer. So I would expect that the player will spawn on top, and the walls provides the background as well. So that's kind of weird. The other possibility, I think I made so this is all full lowercase. So that's why those are coming out as lowercase player, not uppercase player. Okay. Right, so that should be lowercase in there. Let's just put an info in here. Say spawning player. Let's see what it did. So it did spawn the player, but they're not visible. I'm holding W. Now the ghosts are actually on top, which is interesting. And they're moving upward because I've been going up, but the camera's not following. So I think we have some weirdness with our camera system. I think our camera system is broken. Let's put some print stuff in here. I don't know if that's debuggable, but we'll find out. And then here, that's not what I want. Get that down so we can just run it without popping everything around. Let's debug these as well. Camera bounds. I think when we originally wrote this system, we did this. know, maybe this is like level min, max and min. I don't know if that's going to help at all, but I would love to see what's going on in here as we move the player around. Oh yeah, and that's going to spam us. Okay, so that look at all that stuff that's inside the level. That is not helpful. Yeah. Let's see if that is at all more helpful. Okay, so that's the level. Note that those make sense based on the size of our level, so it is getting that data from there. And let's look at new camera position. I don't know if that's going to be helpful. Okay, we know that this works. This computation works as we expected. Okay, so that's where it is. Okay, let's start. Let's see if we can get. Actually, the players. It's not moving the camera. I'm low moving the player. Okay, so now it's moving the camera, but it's still wrong. Okay, there. Look at the ghost caught on the outside of our map. Oh man, we try to make it more interesting, and we we just made it broken. Isn't that the way? Isn't that the way? So I think there's some disconnect here with how LDTK is representing the level. Yeah, they're trying to get in the barn Friday, totally. And we'll need to do some stuff with the, you know, how we're spawning the ghosts. Look at the level dimensions, and you know, spawn them at the edges rather than the way we were doing it before. Excuse me. They clearly still chase correctly. I really wish we could see the player. So maybe what I might do here is go. Let's see, transform. And let's put that in a tuple. And we'll go player position, and we'll debug the transform, because I think that without context of where the player actually is, and I do want to see what their z coordinate is as well, because I think that that's probably a factor in why we're not seeing the player, but we are seeing the ghosts. Okay, so yeah, the player's translation is 0. So even though I got the player to move, you see it's below the level of the walls. That is weird. So I think that we probably need to do a thing. Um, and maybe I'll just do it here because I'm feeling lazy right now and we don't have much time left. I want to say let's say transform.translation .z is 100 like the ghosts, and then it'll be on top. I know, like 100 is completely arbitrary. It's still not visible. I actually think maybe what's possible is, see, there's a dagger. Okay, so this is weird. What's weird? Okay, so we know the camera's not moving. The player's on top at least. Maybe that wasn't. Okay, so it's interesting. I'm going down now, and now it's following, sort of. But it's allowing. Okay, he's correctly running into the walls. It is jittery. Like, we remember we fixed that by cutting down on the number of things he could collide with by making that all one entity before. But left and right, he's not moving. There's something wrong with that calculation. Also, we need to work on the velocity of our let's fix that real quick. Dagger speed. You should not be able to outrun your weapons. They should go really fast. I still think we have problems with. Look, there they go. That's a lot more reasonable. We still have problems with the camera that we'll have to debug. And they do not despawn when they reach the edge. But hey, look at our collision though. That looks almost right. We need to tweak that. But like, we should be, when we hit right there, if it were the full tile, we should be colliding with it. But we don't until we get somewhat overlapped. So that's good. Let's see if we can go up to the top, and now it's stopping. Yeah, the computation is wrong there. It might be. I wonder if it's this issue. It's really frustrating to me, though, that I can't say the center of the level is at 0, 0 in LDTK. Instead, it's like bottom right or bottom left of the thing is at 0, 0. And then now we could do. Well, but on startup, we load the level not on startup. Or the level is not guaranteed to be run after or run before the camera. And there may be deferrals on those commands anyway. So this does have a transform. The default would be 0, 0 though, so I don't think that that's the solution. All right, I think I want to call it a little bit early on that. This was interesting, figuring out how to do all these things. But I don't know that we are that much closer to getting it completely in this. Yeah, see, we get over here, negative 800, right? Oh, those are flipped. Down is positive. What? Oh no! I'm so confused. What is with your coordinate system? Why? Can I change that? Oh my gosh. Probably not. um, I don't know if that makes a difference here. Let's just undo that. And came back to, yeah, walked through your drink, came back to, that is cursed. Yes, yes, it totally is. um, so I actually wonder if what I do is do 0, 0, again, and let's save that because I think that that may be playing with our coordinate system too much. Um, and let's rerun and see if we get anything different. No, the player's still off screen, and you can see him going now. Here come his things, but we're not scrolling up when he's off the screen to the top. What's interesting too, maybe what we could do is, yeah, and so 0, 0 is bottom left, but if you look in the editor, it's like top left. I don't even know. So confusing. Okay. So maybe what we could do is make an invisible entity that is camera. And it can be level out of bounds. Max count 1 per level. Prevent any more, fine. 1 per level, please. Except we don't want it to have a visual. I guess if it doesn't, the internal icon. Is there a camera? I have no idea. No. Wow, look at all those icons. Let's just use that. Yeah, and let's just put the camera there. Fine. But the main thing is we don't want it to display, so we won't have a sprite sheet bundle on it. So let's try that, because I think that what we might be able to do is rather than spawning the camera ourselves, because we're just using the default, right? We can create a camera bundle. Yeah, let's derive bundle. We don't want to derive default. We probably want to implement default ourselves. And then we're going to have LDTK entity. This is going to be LDTK camera entity, or camera bundle. And then what we can do is put the camera in there. 2D bundle. And then nothing else. We don't actually care. So rather than spawning the camera again, what we'll do is we'll do a register LDTK entity, and this is going to be camera bundle. And I should probably not name this. Let's rename that real quick. Can I rename symbol? Entity camera bundle. That's awful name, but it's a little bit better. And then we'll say camera, and then we position the camera, at least initially, from where it's loaded on the map. I think that makes sense for this. And we can implement default for this. And do basically what we were doing in here. And then we'll say self bundle. And let's just rename that camera. Okay. So now let's give that a shot, and see if we get at least the camera starting close to where the player is. Okay, so move the level to the top right quadrant in the editor. How do we do that? Do you have to go back to the world view and be like this? Is that what you mean? Yeah, okay. So it would be 0, negative 1200, right? Okay. Let's give that a shot. At least then maybe our coordinates will make a little bit of sense. We did place the camera in there, so I do want to see if that will help at all. Or if it'll just blow up. Yeah, something's wrong. Okay. So this is running before the camera has spawned. Again, this is... We're going to pull this out and put it up here and say let okay get single mute else return. All these defensive returns, kind of annoying. The thing is, this like shouldn't return result, otherwise I would do question mark there, but okay, so we're at least starting next to the player. Now let's see, it should be following the player directly, but he's not. Camera order ambiguities detected for active cameras. Let's read what this says. To fix this, ensure there's exactly one camera entity spawned with a given order for their given render target. Okay, so we probably spawned more than one camera somewhere. Oh, right, we're still spawning the camera, so we need to remove that system. Okay. Oh, and that's interesting. Now our player is hidden again. Okay. Um, I think we still have a lot to learn. It could also be that our camera system is. I mean, let's like disable that system for now, um, and and then see if the camera spawns next to the player again. Yeah, so the player's moving around. It's not our camera is not following the player, um, but at least it's spawning where you can see the player at first. Okay. Um, one thing that one quick thing I'll do before we finish. There was a thing that they did. Image plugin default nearest. We need to set that because if you saw our sprites are looking pretty blurry. Okay, and now the problem is our scale. So like I made it, I scaled the camera, and I did not. So I think we'll just remove that scale, and we'll derive default on this. Okay, so now it's really crisp. I don't know how well you can see on the stream. It's really crisp, but we're not zoomed in at the level that I would like. Our player is really tiny. Okay, so that's a decent fix. So I think I'll probably need to spend some time between now and the next stream, really getting to understand how do you look at the details of the level, um, and get some sense of how we can constrain the camera within the bounds of the level. Now, the other thing that is possible too is that we could do this, because entities have this component, or can have it. That's interesting. Well, I think that's for another time. Given that we're committed to using the level editor, um, our previous logic is not exactly right. So there's some work to be done there on figuring out what the extents of the level are, and getting the camera translation correct according to that. So I think there's stuff that I can research in the meantime. And that's a pretty good place to stop. Reminder: if you missed the beginning of the stream, I left a message about the link that's in the top right of the screen. You may have seen along the way. Please, if you have the ability and you feel compelled to help out folks who were injured, or families who were affected by the shooting in Kansas City on Wednesday, please do send some money to unitedwaygkc.org/p/Casey Strong, or to Children's Mercy Hospital, who they were responsible for treating a lot of the victims. So please do, if you can, help them out, and that would be greatly appreciated. And I know that everyone is, myself included, even though I wasn't at the parade, we're kind of reeling from that. So thank you for considering. And we'll jump on and do some more of this next time. I think I'm starting to figure some things out, and we'll get going, fixing up all of our systems so that they work with LDTK correctly. Thank you again, Chris, for all your participation, and we'll see you all next time.